Hi everybody, I'm Rook. Welcome to the table, the virtual table. I mean, I guess that's all there ever is anymore, isn't it? Got a Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed Duel dueling book match for you guys today. This is, I believe this is going to be another episode of Does This Beat Moth? Because I was trying my Heavy Metal Raiders deck the other day, and of course, I go on Dueling Book to look at what's going on in terms of matchmaking, and it's all Moth, of course. The Dueling Book is infested with Moths, but I'm playing a Harpy Moth today, so I have Heavy Metal Raiders, which is an interesting deck that I'm trying to play, obviously utilizing things like Allure of Darkness and some other things in the new sets. That'll make this deck a little better. So I have Heavy Metal Raiders here as my field spell and skill, and I had a Zoma and Nightmare Wheel set and a 7 completed in my hand. Now my opponent, his name is Dodish, is playing a Harpy Moth. You can see he has Harpy Lady 1 with Hunting Ground allowing him to pop a face down every time he summons a Harpy. So he got my Zoma out of the way. He's actually going to parasite his own Harpy Lady and activate, of course, there's the Cocoon to tribute his Harpy and Parasite to get a Moth out. Interesting to see that he's targeting his own monster, but it's really, really good momentum with Harpy's Hunting Ground because he's able to kind of start popping my back row there. I don't know if he realizes that Heavy Metal Raiders is a field spell. That's the downside with Heavy Metal Raiders, is that it's a field spell, so you can be popped. And of course, Heavy Metal allows me, it makes me draw one less card at the beginning. He had a Moth in his hand, so he got the deck out and he got the hand Moth out. And he's activating Cocoon's second effect to shuffle the Parasite Paranoid back into his deck. So that's how quick Moth works. Of course, most of you guys are already familiar with that. And he gets to draw one, so two cards in hand, one back row set, 2 Moths. And he is starting his onslaught with the Moth attacks. I have to take this first one, but the second one I do have the Nightmare Wheel set, but unfortunately I have 7 completed in my hand. So 7 completed is a card that I've stuck with for the Dark Machine so far. It is essentially an equipped card to give 700 attack or defense my choice. Usually it beats over most things, but in this case it certainly will not. I drew a Dekoichi, the Battle Channel Locomotive. So Dekoichi is 1400 attack with 7 completed. That is going to be 21, which is nowhere close to Moth. So I have to set Dekoichi. Nightmare Wheel is on 1 Moth, and I set the 7 completed as a bluff, hoping that if he gets a Harpy out, the Hunting Ground will pop that bluff. But no, he has Wild Tornado to pop the Nightmare Wheel. So now his turn, and both Moths are going to be able to attack. And there's Birdface. Ooh, that's going to hurt. Able to beat over this card pretty quickly, my Dekoichi, and win for game here. That is the Power Moth. He had a really, really good hand first turn. And it's interesting to see the Harpies come into play. I get it though, because it's a little bit of back row removal, and it was interesting to parasite his own Harpy. I mean, it works. It works because he had the target and he had the Moth in hand. So getting both Moths out is great. So Dekoichi flips up, and he's not destroyed yet because Heavy Metal says that Dark Machines have to be destroyed twice. So I got the draw, which was the Zoma, and then the Birdface swung in to beat the Dekoichi, and then that was the attack for game. So if you only had 2 monsters out there, I would have been safe. That's the good thing about Heavy Metal Raiders, if it's not popped. If you let Heavy Metal stay out there for a few turns, and your machines have to be essentially battled over twice, then that's really good for you. And I find that that's really working, especially because you can really swing into any monster, and if you take battle damage, you gain that as attack. So it pretty much increases your machine's attack, and if you let it get out of hand too quickly, it will just absolutely overrun your opponent. But he had a really, really good Moth play there in the beginning, so he gets the first game. Going into game 2, choosing to go second here, Heavy Metal only drawing 3 cards. I like to think of it like you're drawing Heavy Metal Raiders as the field spell in your hand and you're playing it right away. So Heavy Metal Raiders, not too many people are familiar with this because it was supposed to be good, but it wasn't. It's the first time each Dark Machine monster you control will be destroyed. It's not, essentially. And then it gains attack if you take battle damage with it, with a Dark Machine monster. So I have Allure of Darkness right there to draw 2. I'm going to banish Dekoichi. I have a Boganian, Nightmare Wheel, Zoma the Spirit, and Twister. So obviously Nightmare, Zoma, and Twister are pretty much staples at this point. I have the Boganian out. My reasoning behind running Boganian is because obviously with Heavy Metal Raiders, you have to beat over Boganian twice to destroy it, and Boganian does 600 life point damage on your standby phase, which if you're not able to destroy it right away, that adds up. So I swing in, and it's a Harpy Lady 1. So actually 1400 defense, that's actually going to bump me for 100 life points, but I do get the counter because I have battle damage, so that actually brings Boganian up to 400 life points. And then of course my sets are pretty strong, Nightmare Wheel, Twister, and Zoma. I have definitely decided that I'm running double Twister now. A lot of my decks I'm running 1 Twister, 1 Night Beam, and that's why I'm running double Twister now, because Parasite is annoying, Nightmare Wheel and Zoma, people run that all over the place. So he tried to Parasite my Boganian right there, but Twister said no, I will gladly pay 500 life points to get rid of that Parasite. So now he can most likely activate Cocoon for the shuffle effect. The secondary effect of Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, which is just so broken, is you can shuffle that insect back into your deck, shuffle, and then draw one. And it might be his next Parasite, I don't know. Most Moth decks run 3 Parasite, 2 Moth. So he may very well have a Moth in his hand, he certainly has one in his deck. But there's Harpy Lady 1 buffing itself. Ooh, and Hunting Ground. So Harpy Lady 1 gives all wind monsters 300 attack. And then Harpy's Hunting Ground gives all winged beast monsters 200 attack. So Harpy Lady 1's actually at 1800, and Birdface is, what is that, 21? That's such a strong Birdface. Technically, both of these can beat over Boganian at 1400 right now. Boganian will gain attack if I take this life point damage here. So Harpy Lady 1, 1800, swing into the Boganian. I do have Nightmare Wheel, I do have Zoma. Popping Zoma won't necessarily stop this attack. Nightmare Wheel would, but ideally I do want to eventually beat over that Harpy Lady 1, so I don't want to burn Nightmare Wheel just yet. So I take the life point damage, I put the counters on Boganian, so Boganian is now at 1800 to match Harpy Lady 1, but Birdface is going to be able to swing over this. And I will Nightmare Wheel the Birdface, because Birdface doesn't really add anything to the table. It doesn't buff any monsters with attack. It's just a good winged beast in this with this synergy. End phase, I'm going to Zoma here. So Zoma the Spirit, 1800 attack. I'm going to put that in defense for my next turn to put that in attack. But now Boganian at 1800, that should be able to crash into Harpy Lady 1. But I might want to crash with the Zoma, and I drew the Dekoichi, the Battle Channel Locomotive. So there's some card draw there. Standby phase, Nightmare Wheel is going to burn for 500, and I can assume that he doesn't have any sort of Moth set up right now. I'm playing just straight Harpies at this point, which is pretty good with Harpy's Hunting Ground, especially because if he gets another Harpy out, he can, you know, pick the litter of pop Zoma, pop Nightmare Wheel, pop Heavy Metal Raiders. Harpy's Hunting Ground is still good. Like, I don't know why people stop playing that card. But Zoma in attack mode, I'm going to set the Dekoichi because I value that card draw way too much, which requires it to be a flip effect. So I'm not just going to summon it point blank. But I got Zoma in attack mode, and battle phase, if I crash something into Harpy Lady 1 and he doesn't have a response, then either Boganian or Zoma can beat over Birdface confidently. So Zoma is going to crash into Harpy Lady 1. And the good thing about Zoma is because Zoma gets beat over, he's actually going to take 1800 life point damage because that is the attack of the Harpy Lady that destroyed it. So Zoma's crash, and there's no life point damage. But as Zoma battles something else that meets the same amount of attack, 1800, then there is life point damage on your opponent's side. So he's taking 1800 there. That puts him at 1000. That's that's pretty manageable. Easy to get 1000 life points here, especially while I have Nightmare Wheel out, or 1100. And Harpy Lady's going to crash, so that's going to go off the field. Birdface is going to only be at 1800 with the Harpy's Hunting Ground buff, buffing all Winged Beast monsters. Ooh, really good card, though. Michizuri. You don't see that too often as a trap run, but Michizuri is going to work well here. As Harpy Lady 1 leaves the field, he's able to take my Boganian with me. So now I have Nightmare Wheel on Birdface, and I have the Dekoichi set, which with Heavy Metal Raiders has to be beat over twice to get off the field. So feeling pretty confident here, but he's got the Parasite. He drew the Parasite, and he's putting it on Birdface, and he's going to use the skill to tribute it to get the Moths out, which is really good when you have something afflicted with something like Nightmare Wheel, because it gets a card off my side of the field also. So he's going to tribute the Birdface to get Moth out, and if he has a Moth in his hand, Parasite's effect will allow him to get that Moth out as well. But it looks like he does not have the Moth in his hand. So he's gonna just have the one Moth out, which is really scary. And he's gonna try and swing here. So Dekoichi is gonna live because Heavy Metal Raiders says it has to be beat over twice. And I get the draw. Ooh, 2 Blast Sphere. I hope to God he swings into that. He knows he can't beat over Dekoichi because he needs 2 monsters to do so. But he might try and go for the Blast Sphere here. He is! He's so curious! He wants to know what that is, and oh, sorry, that is going to be the Blast Sphere. If he has a Quick Play Twister, no, he says GG. I think that's it. He doesn't have anything to get out of here. Oh, and bad manners. Drillago comes out. Drillago's effect actually working. Drillago can attack directly if the only cards he controls are face-up monsters with 1600 or more attack. Actually, I don't think that was legal because he does have Harpy's Hunting Ground. So maybe Drillago couldn't have attacked there because he had the field spell out. But either way, Blast Sphere is going to pop him for the next turn. Good play for Heavy Metal Raiders. Heavy Metal Raiders taking it over this hybrid Harpy Moth deck. All right, siding here, I can't remember what's in my side. I think that it's Offerings to the Doomed and Sphere Kribo, and usually when I'm playing against Moth, I want to put in Sphere Kribo. The reason being because Moth, the setup is so explosive that usually, especially if they have like Night Beam or Twister, you don't have a chance to react. So you need that Sphere Kribo in your hand in order to stay alive, especially if you're faced with double Moth. And then Offerings, potentially just say, no, I don't want to deal with Moth, get that off the field. Also, Sphere Kribo is a dark target, so it works with Allure of Darkness. So I think I sided that in. Here, I'm going first. Dralago, Boganian, Allure of Darkness. I'm going to use Allure because I have a couple dark targets here. Allure to draw 2, Zoma and Offerings, okay? And I'm going to banish Dralago because Dralago, most likely, his effect won't work because usually a lot of people have back row set. So Dralago's effect is if the only thing your opponent controls is a monster face up with 1600 or more attack, or monsters, this card can attack your opponent directly, but even if they have a back row, it's not going to work. So banish Dralago, got Boganian, Zoma, and Offerings. Get Boganian out there. Pretty comfortable with Boganian because he has to beat over it twice, and any battle damage I take, most likely comfortable with taking that battle damage as long as Boganian stays alive and he gets the 600 burn on the standby. So I go ahead and set my Offerings and my Zoma just in case he has the perfect hand and he parasites me right now, and then he goes for Moth. Offerings is my last ditch effort. I do have Zoma that I can pop and put in defense, which if Moth tries to beat over, it's going to burn him for 3,500, and then it's just one Nightmare Wheel away from victory. But I also have Offerings as a last-ditch effort because obviously I have no cards in my hand, so I want to get a hand back. Offerings kind of stunts me there. Yeah, my opponent's asking me what I think of his build. I like it. I like the Harpy Moth. Haven't seen Harpy Moth. Like I'm saying in the chat, I haven't seen Harpies since Tribal Synergy, and Tribal Synergy was meta, what was it, like August? It was like post Scars of Battle, before Trials of the Kingdom. It was around the same time that Serpent Knight Dragon was everywhere. Tribal Synergy was also pretty fun to play. I honestly miss straight Harpies, straight Amazoness. That was like the first thing I ever played when the format came out. But okay, his turn, and he's got Parasite Paranoid on Boganian. So here we go. Offerings might come in handy here, or Zoma. Both great options to deal with Moth. Ooh, he's got Hunting Ground. So if he actually has a Harpy in his hand, yikes, there's the Harpy Lady 1. And is he going to pop Heavy Metal Raiders? Because now he knows it is a field spell. He is familiar. No, he's going to pop the Zoma. That's really bad for me. So now Cocoon, yep, tributing Boganian to get Moth out from the deck. Does he have Moth in hand? If he has Moth in hand, this is it. This is it, because I just have Offerings to the Doom. I can only get rid of one Moth. Doesn't look like he has a Moth in hand. So he's setting a back row and he's going to his battle phase. I have to take this from Harpy Lady 1, and then I have to Offerings to the Doom the Moth. So that's with Hunting Ground and Harpy Lady 1 buffing itself. That is 18. And then Moth, this would be the swing for game. I have the Offerings. I absolutely have to Offerings here. But guess what? I lose anyway. You know why? Because I don't draw anything. I don't draw anything. It's because of Offerings. So it's over. I literally just have Heavy Metal Raiders to my name, and that's it. He's going to use this. Yeah. Okay. He's going to use this skill to shuffle the Parasite back in the deck, and then he's going to draw. I mean, always be thinking like that when you're playing Moth, or when you're playing as Moth, rather. You know, sometimes people forget that second part, where you can just shuffle and draw. If you have, like, a lot of people use Maneater Bug, but also Parasite to get that back in the deck. So we got Harpy Lady 1 out, 1800 attack, and 2 set. 2 cards in hand, but this is over. This is over. I don't even know what he's thinking about. This is over. I don't have like a Ghost Sphere Kribo in my hand. Double Harpy Lady 1. What is that? 19, 21 each? That's rude. That is so rude. Harpies are so strong. And that is the match. So does Heavy Metal Raiders beat Moth? No. No, it does not. But it won 1 game, so that's cool. But shoutouts to this really innovative Harpy Moth deck. Great to see Harpies again. But if you guys like this, please feel free to hit the like button. And of course, subscribe for more. I'll catch you guys later. See ya.